would you like to get started, or do you want me to just keep talking about it? Yeah, Jim says yes. Teresa says yes. Eldon says yes. David says yes. Kevin, CH, Scott, Lori, yeah. Tanya, Curtis, Keith, Jim. I guess it's overwhelming. It's time to start. So this is Pro 6, and you all know that because you're here. By the way, if you're not a member of the ProPresenter users group, let me go ahead and put my short link in the chat. So if you go to that link and request to sign up, then by all means, I can approve you, and then we can go. Please answer the questions. You'd be surprised how many people, even though I say the questions are required, which I think it's just what church or organization are you going to use ProPresenter with? It's really a low bar. So just put that in, and then I or one of the moderators can approve you. So all that to say, this is ProPresenter 6, and initially when I did tutorials on live streaming with ProPresenter 6, it didn't even occur to me that you might use it and not be showing it to a congregation. So since we're in a situation where you're probably not going to be showing it to an in-person congregation, at least most of us aren't, then there are a few differences. So this past week I released a new tutorial on how to do some basic stuff with ProPresenter, and you can watch that later if you like. But in the meantime, let me go through some basic stuff. So the first thing is you're probably already seeing something that's different. For most of you, the background here is not gray, it is black. So there's actually a very good reason for that. So let's go into ProPresenter preferences. And what I'm about to show you is Mac only. There's a similar thing in Windows that they haven't added into ProPresenter, but in Pro 6, enable siphon right here doesn't appear to do anything unless you know what it does. So I want you to click that. Then I want you to click on screen color. And in screen color, you'll notice that I have turned the opacity down to 0. By default, it looks like this, and you'll notice back here the background color is black. But when I turn it down to 0, and as long as I don't have a background, Siphon is actually sending a transparent background. This is something that you don't need an additional module with Pro 6 to do. As long as you've got the Mac version, which most people did with ProPresenter 6, because quite frankly it worked a little bit better, then you can send video with a transparent background. So just to prove that, I'm going to get out of ProPresenter preferences here, click on one of these, just from Amazing Grace. I once was lost. I'm not clicking on this because I've got some stuff here that's messes with it. So I'm just going to click on this one. Now I'm going to go to OBS. OBS is free software called Open Broadcaster software. And so I'm going to drag that over. You'll see me. There's a little bit of latency there. But then I'm going to add in a siphon client. So I'm going to add that in. And I don't have anyone, so I'm going to, well, I could add the T3 IV as siphon, but that's not what I want to do. I want to add a new one. Let's call this Pro 6. Pro 6 siphon, just to be clear. And I'm going to click OK. Now for source, I'm going to click not Cam Twist, but ProPresenter 6. So when I do that, you'll see that I've got a background, black background. I'm using the non-registered version, so. But what I want to do is click this Allow Transparency. And you see already what happened. So when I do that, Sure, we've still got the watermark. If you had the registered version, that wouldn't show up. But you see that I have the words over here, and I can use Siphon to go live with Facebook Live, YouTube Live, or any number of other live clients as long as they do RTMP or RTMPS live streaming, which is the default. Most live streaming hosts do that. So I can use this free software, very popular with churches, to get my output from ProPresenter and put that over a video input that maybe I capture with a capture card like the, yeah, I put it away. The Blackmagic mini recorder would be an example. There's, I think the Aja Hello does it, Magewell or Magwell, Magewell makes one, and there's cheaper ones. I just tend to err on the side of the more expensive ones because they tend to work more often. So that's one way that I can do that, is get this out of ProPresenter. While I'm here, since I'm on a Mac, I might show you how I'm getting my DSLR in too, because this might come in handy, because I'm going into Zoom, as you know. So it could be you could have a situation where you need to get into Zoom. So this, let me find Camera Live. Yep, I minimized it. So this is Camera Live. It's pretty basic, but what I have is just a USB cable. For some reason, Canon doesn't want us to do this. Maybe there's a quality issue or something, I don't know. But this third-party software, also free, called Camera Live, Camera Live, allows you to do that. So you can do a search on that and connect a Canon DSLR directly to a computer with a USB cable and capture it. The problem, though, is that outputs as siphon. It doesn't output as a webcam. So I have another trick here. This is called cam twist. Let me minimize that too. So cam twist allows me to select siphon as a source, and then I can select the server that I want to use. In this case, I'm going to select Camera Live, and that sends Camera Live as a webcam into Zoom, for example. So that's two ways that I could do it. If you're using Zoom, you could capture a siphon out using cam twist and present that to Zoom as a webcam. Someone today on the ProPresenter users group was asking that exact question. They said, okay, I have a laptop, I don't want to connect an external monitor. How can I output ProPresenter so that it shows up in Zoom? Well, you can do that, is use cam twist to take your ProPresenter siphon output and turn that into a camera input that Zoom can see. So that's another trick that I wanted to share with everyone. Randy Freeman, I don't know if, oh yeah, this is, I see a question mark at the end. I'm going to rephrase just a bit. Can I do both Zoom and stream to Facebook Live at the same time using this technique? So I believe that you could. I believe that Siphon is available to multiple pieces of software at once. So CamTwist can see it, and Facebook could see it as well. So just as you can see, Zoom can see it, and so can OBS. Did I minimize that? I might have. Yes, I did. Nope, that's something different. There. So you can see off on the side off here, I can't actually put my mouse over it, is my regular camera feed. And on Zoom, I've got this, so I could absolutely send this to Facebook Live if I wanted to, and send the output of ProPresenter directly to Zoom if I wanted to. So, and in Pro 6, the siphon out is only the main output of ProPresenter 6. Let me show you another technique in order to send the same video with transparency to a different computer. So first, I'm going to get rid of my big face here, or get rid of the siphon. Yes, I want to get rid of that. So this is another free piece of software called NDI Siphon. So what this does is it either takes siphon and turns it into NDI, or it takes NDI and turns it into siphon. It does both pieces. So right here, this is saying the top set of boxes are getting a source from NDI. Don't want to do that. What I want to do is I want to take a siphon source and turn that into NDI. So here I could take just my regular camera, and you'll notice as soon as I clicked enabled, this showed up as a siphon client, which is available on my network. Instead, I'm going to select Pro 6 output and select that. You'll notice I've got my black background again. Now I've got another ProPresenter source. I'm going to click Alpha Channel, and that takes the transparency that ProPresenter is sending and changes that into NDI with transparency. So now, assuming, I'm not hooked up to two computers, but let me just show you how this works. There is a NDI plugin you can get for OBS. Man, it sounds like alphabet soup when I talk, doesn't it? So once you do that, you have this available, NDI source. NDI is a protocol made by NewTek, the people that make the TriCaster, and it's been very widely adopted. It enables you to send video over the network with almost no latency. So we can select NDI source, and then we create a new one. Let's call this NDI from Pro 6, just so that it's obvious to us. And we're going to click OK. And now it's going to ask us what source. Now, of course, remember I briefly made the camera a source, so I could do that, and we should see that up here. But instead, I'm going to do Pro 6 and make sure Fix Alpha Blending is selected, and we'll select OK. And once again, we have our text on OBS. So if I had two computers, I could send the siphon out using NDI siphon on the source computer into the OBS computer on the same network. You'd want the fastest network you could get just to be safe. It is theoretically possible to do over Wi-Fi, and I'll show you how to do that here in just a second with another free app. But while it's theoretically possible, it's better to do it over a wired network. So here we're not going to have as much latency because it's on the same computer. But if I had another computer, I could see this ProPresenter output on that other computer. And in general, that's what I recommend people do, so that because ProPresenter can be kind of heavy lifting, and OBS can be kind of system intense too. And if you run them both, I mean, it works depending on your computer, but sometimes maybe your computer should have been upgraded by now. And this gives you the flexibility of doing it on two different computers, one for encoding with OBS to send to your live stream, and one to run ProPresenter. So you have that ability. And some people, they prefer to run OBS on a Windows machine. NDI is cross-platform, unlike Siphon. So you could do that. So let me show you. I'm going to open up an app on my phone. And this is NDI HX camera. I think they have it for both Android and iPhone. But okay, so I've got that. Now let's unminimize OBS. So you see my phone in my hand. I'm going to add a new scene here. I'm just going to call that scene 2. And then I'm going to add a new source here. And again, I'm going to go to NDI source. This one I'm going to call iPhone. Except since I'm typing one-handed, I'm not typing very well. iPhone, not iPhone. So there we go. Source name. You'll notice I've got a new source, Paul Clifford's iPhone. So I can click that, and now I've got this. Now there's some latency, I admit, but I am sending that over Wi-Fi from this free app that I just downloaded. There's my ugly mug here. Let me try and put it there. So I can send that over Wi-Fi and have what's essentially a wireless camera that I can live stream. So that's another live streaming tip that you can do with OBS. And then, of course, as before, I could add a siphon client from ProPresenter with transparency, and so I can do all that. So there are really a lot of options for you nowadays. So I'm going to actually get out of that so that I'm not holding up my phone the entire time. So Alu is asking the question, you're trying to figure out what siphon is. Okay, let me explain that, because I didn't, so it's perfectly fine. So siphon is this little utility that I think it's actually open source. So Renewed Vision is using it in Pro 6 for Mac and Pro 7 for Mac as well. It's a Mac utility, so that's why there isn't a siphon for Windows. There's a similar piece of software, but I don't know why they haven't used that for Windows. It's called Spout. But so it's this little utility that they've included in the code of ProPresenter 6. And it makes it so that ProPresenter 6 can send the output of itself within the same computer to other software that can see it. So you don't have to capture the output of ProPresenter by clicking that little checkbox. It does it. It just does it. and it doesn't require a lot of system resources. So a lot of people just find that that's a preferable way to go. NDI does basically the same thing, but it does it over the network. So it can do it not only from one program to another program on the same computer. It does it from one computer to another computer as long as they're on the same network. So I can't send this to church over the internet, but I can send it to another room in my house over the internet, or not the internet, the network. So it doesn't go out to the internet, it just is within the same local network, if that makes sense. So that's the difference between those two, and that's what siphon is. Tim Smith, will this work with a Mevo? The answer is I don't believe so. The Mevo, there's live stream producer software that the Mevo can work with. If you use that software, I can't remember if it can take a siphon source, but it might be able to. And if not, I do believe that it can take an NDI source. So you could convert your siphon into NDI and use that. So if I had a Mevo, that's what I would try. That's one of the pieces that I don't have in my collection. I've got a Sling Studio. I've got a ATEM Television Studio HD with a the Blackmagic mini recorder. I've got all those. So, but I've got a hardware encoder. This one is from churchstreaming.tv. So I've got that as an option as well. So I've got a few different things that I've been testing with and making tutorials with, but I don't have everything. So are there any questions thus far? I know that a couple of you have your hands raised. Looks like Elu. I answered your question. I was going to say his question, but I don't know. You might be female. A is a nondescript initial. So let's see here. Randy is asking, would there be any advantage to connecting the cameras through ProPresenter 6 and sending to OBS? Pros and cons. Well, if you're on Windows and you're not showing this in the same room that the cameras are connected to, then that would be a distinct advantage. The disadvantage of adding a camera through ProPresenter is that it adds latency. In my testing, about 3 frames, sometimes a little more. 3 frames is right on the edge where people start to notice it. So if the pastor moves his hand up and then just a split second later you see on the screen the hand move, that's a little annoying. The audio would also arrive to people's ears before the video, also a little annoying. They would start to feel like, but not everyone. So this is all kinds of fun. Some people would start to feel like this is a poorly dubbed foreign film, that kind of have that feeling where the lips almost match, but they don't quite. But other people wouldn't notice it at all. So in general, I discourage people from showing live video that you have brought into ProPresenter if people can see the same subject. Now, for the occasional baptism, for the occasional children's choir singing where you don't have any other choice, that's one thing. But as your primary plan when you have a congregation in the sanctuary, there's just enough latency that you know that the person that complains about everything is going to be the one that can notice it. So that's why I tell people not to. But on Windows, if you don't have siphon as an option, then you can bring in the video. In fact, let me show you what I'm doing there. So if we go into ProPresenter preferences again, and I select live video, then I can do cam twist as a source. So I can do my FaceTime, or I could do siphon from cam twist. I think I'm gonna, no, it's this one. I'm gonna do this one. So now if we go to actions, live video, so here I am. You'll see there's a little tearing. I've noticed that too. But in the same way, I've got that I once was lost lower third showing up. So real quick, we've got, oh, let me tell you how I would do this in Windows. First off, let me clear all here, put that back up. So in Windows, there's another free utility, this one from New Tech themselves, called NDI Scan Converter. So NDI Scan Converter, I'm on the Mac, there's a Mac version too, so I'm just showing it to you, enables you to pick an output. So if this is output number 1, for example, I could use NDI Scan Converter and I could select that. So I've got some settings and stuff. I don't use this very often, so I'm not going to delve into it too deeply. But in fact, I might need to update this actually, because I haven't updated it in a bit of time. So so that's another way that you could do it, is you could use NDI Scan Converter, just making sure I didn't have my mic muted, to capture the output of ProPresenter. The downside of doing that in Windows is that you're going to capture the black screen. So probably what I would do in that case is I would change the black background to chroma key green, and then I would use the filter in OBS to pull out that chroma key green background, and in that way I'd have transparency. So you could do a Luma key, but I think in general that has a bit of a problem in that it will pull out all black. So your outline or drop shadow behind the text to separate it from the background will be pulled out as well. So you'll just have white. I had someone that asked me a question and said, hey, this is a picture of our worship team. I'm noticing that our lead guitarist, who has a white guitar, every time I take a shot of him, I lose my lyrics because they're white lyrics on his white guitar. Said, yeah, try chroma key instead of Luma key, and use an outline to make those pop, or a bar behind it, whatever. So let me take just a second to show you something, and then I'll go back and I'll answer some more questions. So yeah, there it is. Again, I minimized it. So this is Church Tech U, my online Church Tech training program. And you'll notice that I've got a ton of courses. I mean, we've been going for about a half an hour, and I've really just scratched the surface of what I can tell you about live streaming and ProPresenter and ProPresenter 6, and I'm not even really touching on ProPresenter 7, which I've got tons of content up already for my members. You'll see that I have the ProPresenter 7 creation course, and I have a ProPresenter 7 live course that I've been going through the last 10 or 11 weeks with them, just sharing everything that I know. So that is some of the courses that are available there. I also this is the ProPresenter 6 for live streaming course. So it covers some of the stuff that we've talked about and some other things. So, you know, putting up bugs and logos, the Alpha Keyer module, if you have that, the multi-screen module, ways to use that for live streaming, sending ProPresenter stage display over the network for live streaming. There's a little utility that's free that can capture the text that you were sending to the stage display. It doesn't affect the stage display, but it reformats it so that you can have that running at the same time that you have a main out. So once all this craziness is over and we're back in person church, if you're on Pro 6, maybe you have a problem then. You had all kinds of freedom when there was no one in the room, but now that there's someone in the room, you need different formatted outputs. So that tells you how to do that. So you've got all kinds of different stuff, differences between chroma key and luma key, for example, NDI tools I touched on just a second. And you'll notice that these are all bite-sized little pieces, so we can look at them each in turn. I've got a little UI over here. I'm going to move out of the way. Then I've got my live streaming church course that was a companion to my live streaming course book. I've actually wrote an entire book. I literally wrote the book on live streaming for churches. Okay, a book. There are a couple of others out there. So that's included with that as well. And if you need more about video production, maybe the whole thing about video production is too much for you. Maybe you're wondering, why is it that Paul's camera looks so good? Well, it's not just the camera. I actually have set up lights, and very inexpensive lights. There's a light up here. Let's see, I can cover up and you get a less good shot. And I have a light behind me that separates me from the background. And those were both inexpensive lights that I set up, just knowing how to use them that helped. So that's stuff that's covered in Video School 101. There's one other thing that I wanted to show you, and that is my community that's included. I have a Facebook community just for members of Church Tech U. We're closing in on 100 churches that are a part of this right now. And if you've ever been frustrated, like you've asked a question and you get a ton of answers, but a good portion of them are wrong, a smaller community is great for this. And these are all Church Tech people, all dealing with the same thing. This is Holly. She asked if there was a cheap way for members that aren't techie to dial in on the phone. And so I told her about freeconferencecall.com and suggested, you know, sometimes just pressing in the numbers is too much. And I say this with love for my own mother. She's about to be 85 at the end of next month. And she's convinced that anything technological costs about $100,000, and if she looks at it wrong, it'll break and maybe spread the coronavirus. I mean, she's just really afraid of all that, and as much as I try and help her, she just doesn't quite get that. So that is a group that is dedicated to Church Tech U members. So if you're this is something that is included. You'll notice I don't have nearly 20,000 members like I do in the ProPresenter users group. This is just over 100 members because it's dedicated to that. But to get all that, right now I have an offer. I never thought that I was going to do this, but I decided to do this because of the coronavirus. I recognize that some of you need more help. I also recognize that some of you aren't sure if you want to spend any money for that new help. So I'm taking a big risk here, and I'm going to offer 2 free months. So hopefully that will get us through all this, and hopefully I've provided enough help for you that you go, okay, it's totally worth it, and you stay. But if you don't, I'm not like the cable company. If you decide to quit, I don't make you jump through 25,000 hoops. You send me an email, and I'm the only one here, so I cancel it. So that's the way that it works. So 2 free months, just scroll down. This is a limited time offer. I'm just doing this through 12:01 a.m. Eastern time on April 15th, because 2 months, that's a long time, and it's a free trial. So it could be that you'll just be talking my ear off and I'll never get any money from you. And that's okay. Actually, I'm okay with that, because I really hate that I know stuff that churches need and they're not getting the help they need. So you'll see it's got all these courses involved, and down here, this is the monthly for your entire church, by the way. So, well, for a campus, most churches only have one. So for, in 3 months, it would be $50 for your entire campus. Everyone that does tech, there's a lesson for your pastors, a whole course for pastors. There's stuff that you can share with the children's ministry so they don't bug you. Or maybe you are the children's ministry and you feel guilty bugging the main service person. And maybe you don't feel guilty, but there are other things, or maybe you don't mind them bugging you, but there are other things you could do. So this way you can train all your volunteers, you can train yourself, train people on staff. So we've got the yearly option, the the monthly option. The yearly option is $497. So that's so it's less than 10 times. So it's like getting an additional 2 months free. So you can choose that. And if you're a multi-site church, I didn't want Life Church to just get the regular church thing. Then I have this as well. So if you've got 2 campuses, it's basically the same price as the yearly. If you have 3, it's even cheaper. So make sure you choose that if you find that interesting, and all that is located at churchtecU.com. So I'm going to paste that in the chat. If you're interested, again, 2 months free. I hope you'll stay after that. If not, you can cancel and keep everything that you know in your head. I can't come back and repossess that, and I wouldn't want to even if I could. So just to let you know about that. So let me go back in and answer some of these questions that I have missed thus far, and I'll stay as long as we've got questions. I'd originally slated this for 12 more minutes, but if we have 20 minutes worth of questions, I'll answer them, because I really love doing this, quite frankly. So let's see here. So Tim Smith says they do have Livestream Studio that they use with the Mevo. So try and use Siphon if it's on the same computer, or NDI, and see if that doesn't solve your problem and allow you to put the output of ProPresenter onto your Mevo, and then you get the best of both worlds, which without using Livestream Studio, I don't think that the Mevo can do graphics any other way. I talked to a church in, I think it was Japan, a year ago or so, maybe 2. They had a shot with the screen up there, and that's less than ideal, as you can imagine. Okay, Teresa says, I'm using a Panasonic camera using an Inogene recorder using Pro 6 with USB. I can see the video in USB using video capture. I can see Pro 6 using Pro 6 siphon. I don't know how to combine it all together. I'm a novice at all this, but not to computers, just need leading or at this point dragging OSB, not USB. Okay, so I don't know the Inogene recorder off the top of my head, but I will tell you something you can do in OBS, which might solve this problem for you, is you can, as I showed earlier, capture video into ProPresenter and then like live video into ProPresenter and then put the text over top of it. Actually, it would be like this from your angle. You could do that and then send that into your recorder. See if that works. Another possibility is we bring up OBS. Where are you? OBS right there. So let me switch back to this scene. Okay, so if we bring up OBS, if we right click on the output, I can actually do a full screen preview. So it says full screen projector, and then I can select an output. So I could send the full screen preview to an external display, and then I could capture that, or that external display, maybe that plugs into your recorder. So it's not perfect for it, but you can use OBS not only for live streaming, it can also record its own self, or you can use it as a video switcher. And this is just really crazy that a free piece of software can do that. So by doing the full screen preview, once you send the output to the full screen preview, then you can output the full screen anywhere that you need it to go. So that's a pretty cool tip as well. Let me bring ProPresenter back up here. What does it's actually YUV mean? That's a different color space instead of RGB. So I don't know why, but for some reason, I tried just the default one in Pro 6 and it didn't work, but in Pro 7, they both work. So that's why I chose that one. I saw the NDI 4.5 update was just released this week. Yeah, I haven't looked at all the stuff that they have on that, but there are some new features. I got an email from my editor at Church Production Magazine. I write a monthly column on live streaming for Church Production Magazine, by the way. And he was asking, because I'd written something about NDI like less than a month ago. And he said, so has your stuff changed? And I just haven't gotten a chance to look at that. So I'm exciting to do that. So Randy is asking, so is the NDI SDI module in Pro 6, does it help? Is it necessary if I want to send NDI to siphon to my second iMac? Actually, in this one case, I think it wouldn't help. I think that what I would do is I would do siphon with that transparency trick that I showed you, because I think the SDI NDI module sends the output of ProPresenter over NDI directly, which is fine if the output of ProPresenter you want it to be full screen. And maybe in your situation you do want it to be full screen, so problem solved. But if you want that transparency like I showed you earlier, then you really need to send it from siphon with the transparent background. Make sure that you don't, if I put on this background, right? If I go into OBS, I believe, I haven't actually tried this. Yep. So it tries to do transparency. See, you can see me behind here, but if I had the registered version, it would be full screen. So if you were trying to send the full screen version, it's 6 and 1/2 dozen of the other. But if you're sending the with the transparency, then I do siphon then NDI siphon so that that transparency goes that entire distance. So Teresa, okay, I must have missed that you can pull the video into ProPresenter, then output it to OBS. Yeah, you can do it either way. Tim Smith says we use a triple wide screen is the resolution but when using a triple wide and using Livestream Studio, it shows the lines where the 3 different projectors are. Is there any way using Edge Blend to rectify it? So you have in Pro 6, I don't know that there is a way. So you're using the edge blending module to blend those for the projector. Yeah, I don't think there's a way to do that. But what you could do is if it's just text that you want, you could do, let me do a search for it. This is Stage Display Viewer. As you can see, I've done the search a bit. So this is a little free piece of open source software that I think it's actually a member of the ProPresenter users group wrote. And it basically, the web app, the iPhone, the Apple TV, the Android apps for stage display basically get the information from ProPresenter over the network. So what this does is it kind of snoops on that traffic and reformats it. So you can see that that's one of my tutorials there on how to use it. I actually did that with Josh, who's one of the moderators in the ProPresenter users group. But I've got another one on, I think it says how to send text over the network from ProPresenter 6 that you can find. So you could do that, reformat it with the chroma key green background, because by default it's just a black background, and then get that into Livestream Studio. And Roger is asking, okay, we're using NDI PTZ cameras into OBS for live stream. I want to bring Pro 7 into OBS to overlay the camera feed for live stream. We use the Pro 7 machine to feed the projector for the Sanctuary 2. Okay. Well, this isn't the ProPresenter 7 one. I'll tell you how to do it. Let me quit out of Pro 6 here real quick, and I'm going to bring up Pro 7. So okay, Just a second. Okay, good. My camera is still working. The refreshing of the displays in Pro 6 always scares me a little bit when I'm on a free training like this. So, okay, so here we are in Pro 7, and so while that refreshes, what you want to do is go into Screens, Configure Screens, and from Configure Screens, you've got your regular output. Well, add another one, and let's call this, if it's going to another computer or you're on Windows, do a new NDI screen. If you're going to the same computer, do a new siphon screen. Select the appropriate resolution. And by the way, Tim, if you are on Pro 7, this is a good way to do this too in Pro 7. So, so let's just, for giggles, add a 720p screen. You'll notice that these are 1080p. With Pro 7, you can mix and match resolution, so that's cool too. So you can do that. And then you can send that out. I really thought that there was an alpha thing there. I think maybe I'm thinking of the NDI one. So let's add another one for NDI just so that I can show that to you. 720p 5994. Okay, so here we go. So make sure you have that selected for alpha if you're sending NDI, and then that will enable transparency to be sent as well. So yeah, Tim, it can be done. It's just not as easy in Pro 6 as Pro 7. And so, Roger, this is the way that I would do it, is I would have different outputs, and then I can go, Pro 7 and Zoom don't like each other very much, not on the same machine. So it kind of, you've probably noticed that my camera is not as smooth as it was. So normally I shut down some more stuff for Pro 7 webinars. So anyway, now we can go to edit looks. And for whatever screen, I could do an alternate theme called templates in Pro 6. And so I could have a full screen for the congregation, and then I could have a lower third theme for people that are watching online, and send that either NDI or siphon, depending on how I want to do it. So that is how you would do that. You're welcome, Roger. So Teresa, good to see you. Hope to see you leave later. Sorry, not hope to see you leave. Sorry to see you leave. Hope to see you later. I combined those two sentences. So sorry to see you leave. Hope to see you later. Do I have a video that shows how to do it in Pro 6? Yep, sure do. On a Mac? Yep, sure do. So I have covered, I think, every feature in Pro 6 except the master slave module, and new people can't get those anymore. And I just released, just this last week on YouTube, a new tutorial for Pro 6 in our current situation where where it's the case that you're not showing it in the congregation anymore. So, and I released another one for how to use Sling Studio with Chroma Key. So, and that one was specific to Pro 7 because I had one for Pro 6. So, yes. In fact, in general, I tell people, if you have a question about ProPresenter and you Google it, there's a very, very, very good chance that one of my tutorials is going to come up because I've got like 200. So it's an order of magnitude greater than anyone else. So, any other questions I could answer for anyone? Don't forget, you can get your 2 months free with Church Tech U, and I have weekly live things for my Church Tech U members. Actually, quite frankly, in the last couple of months, I've been doing them twice a week on different subjects and uploading the replays so that people can get what they need for Pro 6 or Pro 7, and then having a hangout with questions and so on. So I've just been all in on all that just to make sure that everyone can get all the help that they need. And that's included in the 2-month free trial. It's a full trial. It's not like, hey, I'm going to tease you about this and I'm going to tease you about that. No, you get everything. It's like you're a paying member. So if you find that interesting, by all means, give it a try. I haven't announced that to everyone yet, so probably will not open the doors to my mailing list until Wednesday. So this is your chance to get in, and you can get into the Pro 7 class that I'm starting over again on Tuesday, and do that. That's like 11 weeks of stuff where I cover nearly everything I know about ProPresenter 7 and answer questions on anything that I happen to have missed. So there you go. Okay, looks like so Randy says that he signed up. Welcome, Randy. I'll be sending you an email as soon as we're done with login information, and be approving you to the Facebook group as long as you signed up. Okay, Doug Forth, do I need a scalar box to get Pro 6 into an ATEM switcher? The answer is it depends. So the one I recommend is this one, and you'll notice that it's got 2 here. So I have, this is going into my ATEM Television Studio HD. This is a decimator MDHX. Here, I'll just refocus. Decimator MDHX. Here we go. So it's not a cheap box, but it is a reliable one. So refocus on me. There we go. And so it depends on your the resolution that your computer is sending and what resolution your ATEM is using. Now, I didn't talk about this. I should have. The Blackmagic just released a brand new switcher, which is available. It's more expensive than the Mini that so many churches like, but it has a couple of much better features for churches. First off, the HDMI output can be a multi-view, so you can see all your sources at once. That's a plus. Secondly, you can record directly from it to a hard drive, so that's a plus. Third, you can live stream directly from it without using a computer for live streaming. So it's really the perfect switcher unless you need alpha channel or more than 4 sources. Those are the, or if you want to do iMag. It's not really great for image magnification where you put up the live video of what's going on in the room up on the screen. It's just not really designed for it. you lose your multi-view if you do that. So all that to say is I'd recommend that. That's the ATEM Mini Pro, and it's like $600, which I admit is more than $300, but it has so many more features that I'd really suggest it. The ATEM Television Studio HD that I have is about $1,000. The recorder that I have is about three to 400. So I'm using a pricier setup than what they just announced. And for most churches, I'd recommend what they just announced. Not the Mini, which is hard to get, but the Mini Pro, which is available right now and has all these other features. So, oh, and the other thing is it can take sources of different resolutions. That's why it popped into my head. It and the Mini both do it. Yep. And Roger, for the lessons that I offer for my members, yes, I always try and upload the replay, just like I try and upload the replay for this, unless there's a problem, and then I'll re-record it. I'm not against that, but it would be slightly different because I don't do this off a script. I have an outline and I go through the outline. So. Gutteron, thanks for the helpful information and very timely. You're welcome, Randy. That's why I wanted to do this. So if there are no other questions, I see we've still got a few people online. Good to see you, Bill Montgomery. He has been a Church Tech U member. I can't remember if you still are. I'm getting to the point that there are enough of them that I can't remember off the top of my head who was and who is. So good to talk to everyone, and I'm going to go ahead and, unless there are other questions, I'm going to go ahead and stop all this, and I hope to see you inside Church Tech U. I know at least one person has joined, and that's great because I would love to have you. And remember, seriously, during this difficult time, I really want to help everyone I can, and so hence the 2-month free trial. But it's what pays my bills, so it still will be a charge afterwards, but hopefully it's enough value to you that you want to stay a member, and if not, that's cool too. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop this, and I hope to see you later, and if not, make sure you join the ProPresenter users group. Also go to my YouTube channel and subscribe as well. Okay, till then, see you later.